tell it on the mountain, over the hills, and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Tell it on the mountain, over the hills, and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
Shepherds kept there watching over silent flocks by night. Behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. The shepherds feared and trembled when low above the earth they rang out the heavenly chorus.
Hallelujah.
And held the baby's birth. Go on, tell it
On the mountain, over the hills, and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it.
word this Christmas morn.
Tell it on the mountain. Go
Tell
tell
it
it.
where Jesus is born.
Tell it on the mountain. Go
Oh,
tell
sun
it.
is shining to lead the way in a manger born this day.
Go tell it. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it.
Word this Christmas morn.
Tell it on the mountain. Go
Tell
tell
it
it.
where Jesus is born.
Tell it on the mountain.
Oh,
Go tell
sun
it.
is shining to lead the way in a manger born this
Go
day.
tell it.
Oh,
Tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it. Tell it. 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 Go tell it.
Blessed baby was born.
Tell it.
God sent us love and peace.
Go tell it.
That blessed Christmas morn.
Tell it.
Go,
Go tell it.
go and tell it.
Tell it.
Go,
Go tell it.
go and tell it. On the mountain
Go
top.
tell it.
Go and tell it.
Tell it.
Yeah.
Go tell it.
Go and tell it.
Tell it.
Lord help
Go
me.
tell it.
He's baby.
Tell it.
Go.
Go tell it.
Go and tell it. Tell it. Tell it.
Tell it.
Tell the story of His glory. Tell it.
Go tell it. Go tell it. Go tell it. Go tell it. Tell it. Go tell it. Go tell it. Tell it. Go tell it. Tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
Welcome to Unity Church of the Hills. So good to see you all. I'm Reverend Sheree. I'm the Senior Minister here. And for those of you online, thank you for joining us. Thank you for choosing us as your spiritual home. We are truly blessed by your presence and your energy. So, who are we? We are Unity Church of the Hills, and we are a spiritual community that accepts all, no exceptions. And that's a pretty powerful statement when you're looking at a spiritual community. There are no rules that say you don't belong here. Everyone belongs here to be in the divine knowing of who they are. So I love this community. If you are here for the first time, we welcome you. You know, we're a very touchy-feely, huggy community, so if that doesn't resonate with you, just stick your hand out far away from your body, and we will take the hint. So those of us who are huggers, take the hint. All right. If you are here for the first time, there are little cards that you can fill out and put in the basket when the ushers come around. And if you're online, you can type connect into the comment section, and one of our ambassadors will reach out to you to give you more information about our community. Do you know what this month is? It's December, I know, you're gonna all say, it's December, it's Christmas season. It's also bring a friend to this community. What? We talk about expansion, but it's not a magical thing. It's not like we think, oh, let's have more people here and do nothing. No, we think, oh, let's have more people here, and we go and we invite people to come and join us here. So we're making this a little bit more interesting. We're gonna have a raffle. So if you bring a guest, for each guest that you bring, you get an entry into our raffle. And we have amazing prizes. Did you hear from the bed and breakfast? Okay. So I can tell you two of them. Two of them, one choice that the winner has is to get a complete makeover. You know, sometimes we get stuck in our 1970, 80 persona, and we forget that, you know, we can shift. So Danny, Reggie's hubby extraordinaire, ex-New Yorker, so you know I love him. He is offering that service to the raffle winner, or you can choose to have an amazing flight around Austin. Steve, where are you? He's back there? Okay, he's in the crow's nest. So Stephen Meyer, he's a pilot, been a commercial pilot for a really long time. He's offering the raffle winner a 2-hour flight around Austin. So that's the or prize. There may be another one coming. I'll let you know if it's coming. But that alone is worth it. So I'm just seeing, we talked about 500 members by the end of this year. I'm seeing that manifesting this season with your help. Got it? All right, beautiful. So let's talk about the end of year campaign. The end of year campaign is really important to us as a community because it carries us through. You know, part of my commitment to you is about transparency on all levels. So I tell you what's happening with members in our communities when they pass or they're not feeling well or something of that nature. But I also keep you abreast of what's going on in the community financially, spiritually, etc. So last year, our end-of-year giving campaign was $225,000, and we reached that goal last year, $225,000. And what that did is it carried us through the lean months. We had 9 months out of 12 where we did not meet our goal. We were in the negative. And because of the end-of-year campaign, we went whew, and kept on moving. So your commitment to us is really important. We've done several different things to kind of kick off this end-of-year campaign. One of them was that season celebration, right? The season of creation celebration, in which we got almost 14,000 from the auctions and entries and things of that nature. We had the Tuesday giving. There were 10 of us that supported the Giving Tuesday. 2 people were exceedingly generous that got us to $3,000. So I know that we can do better. We can do better, my friends. And it's vital to our well-being. So talent, treasures, time, all of that's important to make a community vibrant. All right, what else is going on? We've got children. We've been having children for a while in our community, but guess what? Starting next week, they will be coming into the sanctuary. If they are 6 and above, because now it's been about a month for kids that they can be vaccinated, so we're feeling a little bit more, thank you, that they're more protected, and so that they can participate more. So if they're 6 and up, starting next week, they'll be coming into the service at the end of service, and also some of them are going to participate in the service next Sunday. So I am really looking forward to that, because usually that's a hoot. I probably have more fun than you guys do, but it's a hoot, so I hope that you'll join us then as well. There is something that I want to share with you. We get these little Advent books every year. Usually the ministers and members of Unity create these booklets, and they're pretty powerful. This one for Advent is A Christmas to Remember. And for December 5th, I'd like to read the story to you. This is by Reverend Teresa Burton. She is the editor of the Daily Word. She's also a classmate of mine, so I can claim that. Isn't that nice? She writes this. I used to fall into an easy trap at Christmas time. I would get so wrapped up in being busy, Christmas would turn into something to do, not something to enjoy. It was a mostly happy pressure. I enjoy shopping for gifts, cooking my favorite holiday dishes, sending Christmas cards, and doing more socializing in a month than I do most of the year. Can we relate to that? I know I can. One year, it all caught up with me. I felt frazzled and grumpy. With each passing day, I felt myself slipping further and further behind on everything I believed I had to do. Even though I knew that the pressure I was feeling was self-imposed, I wouldn't give myself a break and let anything go. The more focused and efficient I tried to be, the more irritable I became. I felt as though I was running out of time, chasing an idea of perfection that mattered only to me. I had committed to attending a Christmas Eve church service, but I wasn't really in the mood. Not that you can relate to that at all. I settled in my seat, but felt restless. I sang the familiar songs and heard the familiar scriptures. It was all lovely, but my mind kept drifting back to the unwrapped gifts, the unsent Christmas cards, and all the errands I ran out of time to complete. The service was pleasant enough, but I remained unmoved, eager to get home and back to work of getting ready for Christmas. I was about to realize I had sacrificed peace on the altar of perfection. After the service, I stepped outside and walked toward my car. I was calmed by the fullness of the quiet and stillness of the chilly air. Driving home, I slowed to appreciate the lights adorning the houses, the colorful Christmas trees in windows and luminaries, lining several long driveways. For the first time in weeks, I felt captivated and wholly present. In that moment, I remembered singing not even an hour before, "Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright." And it was. I've kept the gift of that experience. I realized that that peace isn't perfection. Peace is presence. Peace is presence. Peace is attention. Peace is not getting rattled over things that don't really matter. Now I do my best, but I do not worry about doing everything perfectly or getting it all done. I'm no longer running that race, and I am at peace. Pretty profound, right? So we're going to talk about our vision, and our vision is who we are as a community. And if you're willing, will you say this statement with me? We are an ever-expanding community of love and acceptance where lives are transformed. So we come to that time when we're going to light the Advent candle, and we have a representative from the online community. Kyle Coker has been a long-term volunteer at Unity Church of the Hills, and she and her family are lighting the wreath, the candle online, to represent those of you online. you, Kyle and family. So obviously, the theme for this week is peace. And so we have 2 candles lit to celebrate the second week of Advent. We will also have our board president, Frank Phelan, who is going to give our message and meditation today. We're really excited that he said yes to being with us and sharing with us, not from a business perspective, but from a spiritual perspective. So we are going to be blessed today. Can I invite Roderick, Sandra? I'm not seeing her. Okay, and we will do the opening prayer. And as we breathe into this now moment, we allow that sound to permeate our being, calling us to rise up in consciousness to the truth of who we are, divine humanity. We allow ourselves to rise up to the truth that we are God in skin, and that we are awakening to the truth of what that means for each of us. And as we step into our purpose, we are renewed again at depth as we co-create the light, the love, the kindness, the support, the peace that we wish to have in our lives and in our world. We remember our power. We remember our power that as we change, as we transform, as we grow, as we evolve, it touches everyone and everything around us. And we are more powerful than we can possibly imagine. And as we take time to go within on this prayer to remember who we are, energetic, spiritual beings inhabiting this physical body to experience and learn and transform. And in this moment of Advent, as we claim peace, peace that transcends all understanding, peace that allows us a little spring in our step as we do what is ours to do. We bring to mind, to our consciousness, those who may not know this truth, those who may inadvertently have chosen suffering. We bring their essence here and allow the energy that we possess in knowing the truth, that it is all God, to transmute those false beliefs. And in this moment, I ask you to also bring to this sacred space those who may not remember that, those who may be suffering from illness or depression or anything of that nature. Bring them here. We hold Becca and her mom in our hearts as her mom is going through a health challenge. And as we bring all of those energies and those consciousnesses here, we claim truth. We claim renewal. And so it is. Amen.
You're not a natural being, having a spiritual experience, but you're a spiritual being, living this natural experience. You're not a natural being, having a spiritual experience, but you're a spiritual being, living this natural experience. Every day when you wake, your request should constantly say, oh Lord, let me be spiritual, spiritual. Let me be spiritual, spiritual.
You're not a natural being, having a spiritual experience, but you're a spiritual being, living this natural experience. You're not a natural being, having a spiritual experience, but you're a spiritual being, living this natural experience. Every day
When you wake, your request
make your request.
should
Open your eyes, open your mouth, and say, oh
let me be spiritual,
let me be spiritual,
spiritual.
let me be spiritual.
Be spiritual,
I wanna walk in the spirit.
spiritual.
Hey,
Every day when you wake, your request
open your eyes
should
before your feet hit the floor.
encouragement, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Let me live in the Spirit.
I want to discern the Spirit
In the Spirit.
every day. Thank you, Lord.
In the Spirit.
Thank you, Lord, for the peace. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
The Spirit. Let me be spiritual.
Good morning. Thank you, Celebration. For all that you do, for that amazing message of us being spiritual beings having this human experience, that affirmation. Nina and I, my wife, were chatting earlier this week about how much we appreciate being able to come back and be here and listen to Celebration. And there's a new appreciation for being able to be together here today and participate with those that are online. What a blessing. We have so much to be grateful for. One of the things that I was particularly grateful for this morning was the ability to turn left into Unity Church of the Hills without taking my life in my own hands. We have a center turn lane. For 20 years, those who have been coming us that long, we have had to take risks every Sunday. So we're committed or desperate, something. And I also want to recognize and thank everybody that helps make this happen. It's not just the folks you see on the stage, but it is our technical folks, our volunteers, our staff. There's so much that goes on during the course of the week to make this really, really important hour or hour and a half of the day happen. And I'm grateful. We can all be grateful for that dedication and love. So we're in this season of expectancy, this season of aspiration, of being open to, of just anticipation of something. And we call it Advent. We've got the wreath with the candles, and I love what New Thought does with this. I came up in a rather conventional theology, and in that theology, I came away from Advent with the idea that you get to play with fire. And that was about all the useful tool that I drew from that. And that wasn't that theology's fault. That was my inability to really be present and listen to what was being said and done. And so, today we're going to contemplate one aspect of this preparation for the Christ Spirit. The Christ Spirit, the initial commemoration of that birth on this planet, for that demonstration for us, and for our own embodiment of that. We celebrate in unity through these hope and peace and love and joy. And I'm going to have a slide go up. There we go. Being an engineer, I can't help but break things down into their requisite components. And so, I asked myself some questions when thinking about peace and doing a talk on peace. What is that? What is the activity of peace? And questioning, the conventions and our typical approach, and maybe reframing peace somewhat, because we all want it. We all want it, and I would probably hazard a guess that we all share some frustrations with the inability for it to be realized, either in our own lives or in the world at large. And looking to the source of peace. Where does it really come from? Where does it emanate from? Then those barriers and the prerequisites necessary to have it. What's holding me back, and what needs to be done for it to manifest in the world? And finally, the experience and practices of peace, because we've got that fifth unity principle of it's not enough to just know about it. We get to live it. We get to experience it. And so those are the elements that I'll be breaking it down into. So we can dispense with that. Thank you. And I love the piece in Reverend Sheree's prayer this morning about peace being a presence. That it is about a presence, a way of being. In Advent, we celebrate the states of being in New Thought that prepare us for embodiment of the Christ Spirit and to commemorate the arrival of the Christ into this world for the first time. And last week, Reverend Sheree talked a little bit about, we've got hope and peace and joy and love, but if these don't work for you, what are the attributes of your God that you want to emulate and be in this world, and choose the ones that work for you. She also issued a really, really audacious question to us. Do we want to be the Christ? She talked about the power that we are, and that requires a displacement of what my own impression of myself is. Probably the biggest challenge is my ego, out of whack one way or another, either too great or too small to be able to realize what that potential is, but it's there in us, as Celebration did at the beginning. A definition of peace that we can use, a metaphysical perspective, is that it is the tranquility and harmony associated with adoption of the Christ consciousness. I think that's a great definition. Many years ago, I worked with a man in recovery, and he would always ask me this question when we were talking about a spiritual concept or principle. We'd discuss it, and he would go, well, what does that look like? What does that harmony and tranquility and so forth look like in the real world, in our day-to-day lives and so forth? And so that's one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit later. It's a great question to ask, though, when pondering a spiritual principle. So I'd have to say that conventionally, well, I know from growing up, some of my early experiences about the larger outside world were watching the evening news with my dad in the 1960s and 70s. And for those of you that are old enough to remember that was the Vietnam War coming into, in vivid graphic detail, our family room on a daily basis with the body counts. And then the juxtaposition to that were the peace protests and it was the context under which my idea of peace was framed, that peace is merely the absence of war. And I know we can do a lot better than that. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. In Philippians 4:7, and the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. So we're going to attempt to contemplate a peace that passes all understanding. Good luck with that. I have found myself spending time trying to describe indescribably wonderful. But it's a great thing that we can do. We can try and contemplate these ideas. And I'll talk about some mechanisms that we can use for that. One of the things we can do is we can talk about, what that idea is not. Well, a peace that passes all understanding isn't about external circumstances. It isn't about what's going on out there. It is not dependent upon the behavior of other people or groups or our leadership. And so, what is our source? What are we turning to for that peace? Wonderfully, we have unity principles. We have the first principle of unity. There's only one power and one presence in the universe, God, and that power is good. And then our second principle, that we are of that. We are made in the image and likeness. We don't inherit sickness. And so we're inherently good, which there's a tall one coming from a conventional theology. So if we're made in the image and likeness, why am I not experiencing maybe as much peace as I would like in my life? You know, if that is my essence, why isn't being at peace like falling off a log, just as natural as walking or something? One of the folks that I really like, how they approach peace is Thich Nhat Hanh. He has a great book called Peace is Every Step, and I'll read a passage out of that. He says, although attempting to bring about world peace through the internal transformation of individuals is difficult, it is the only way. Wherever I go, I express this, and I am encouraged that people from many different walks of life receive it well. He goes on to say that peace must first be developed within an individual, and I believe that love, compassion, and altruism are the fundamental basis for peace. Once these qualities are developed within an individual, he or she is then able to create an atmosphere of peace and harmony. This atmosphere can be expanded and extended from the individual to his family, from his family to his community, and from his community to the larger world. So the humbling news is that we are the beings of peace on the planet. The good news is that we are the beings of peace on the planet, and we have dominion over what we do. I love that song, Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin With Me. Isn't that a great song? And so that's where it starts. But there are barriers. There are things that are holding me back. And so I'll talk about two of the biggies. The first one is my thinking, what goes on up in here. Blaise Pascal, an amazing polymath who I've known for years through physics classes, also was a bit of a philosopher and theologist, and he summarized it really well in a single sentence. He goes, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Yeah, buddy. You know, in my early recovery, I was appalled at the side effect of sobriety being unremittent, constant consciousness. Yes, what do you do with that? It was terrifying. And, you know, to a certain extent, I think all of humanity deals with that. And we deal with it in a myriad of ways, you know, distraction, addictions, you know, obsessions, so forth and so on. And in lesser and varying degrees. And so what are the ideas behind changing this thought life? And Eckhart Tolle has a book called Power of Now that if you haven't explored yet, it's a wonderful thing to have on your night table and just dig a little piece in. It's too meaty to read like a novel. And he talks about, in one of the Q&A sections, about what is the greatest obstacle to experiencing enlightenment or peace. And he asserts that identification with your mind, which causes thought to become compulsive. Not to be able to stop thinking is a dreadful affliction. Yeah, great line. But we don't realize this because almost everybody is suffering from it, and so it's considered normal. This incessant mental noise prevents you from finding that realm of inner stillness that is inseparable from being. The compulsive thinker lives in a state of apparent separateness in an insanely complex world of continuous problems and conflict, a world that reflects an ever-increasing fragmentation of the mind. Enlightenment is a state of wholeness, of being at one and therefore at peace, at one with life in its manifested aspect, the world, as well as your deepest self and life unmanifested, at one with being. So the trouble with this is we can know this and we can forget it too. At least that's my experience. And he goes on to say, you then forget the essential fact underneath the level of physical appearances and separate forms, you are one with all that is. By forget, he says, I mean that you can no longer feel this oneness as a self-evident reality. You may believe it to be true, but you no longer know it to be true. A belief may be comforting, but only through your own experiences does it become liberating. So changing our identification from our mind to our being is what needs to happen. And this is a practice as we use our minds on a daily basis, and it's so easy to fall back into that identification with the mind. And we'll talk about the practices that can move us from there. All right, so y'all still with me? That was barrier 1. Barrier 2, my idea of God. And that was the question that I put forward as the title for the piece is my God at peace? In the theater, we used to have some things that we would do that would be what we called cheap and sleazy yet effective with lighting or sound or whatever. And this is kind of that question, to make God into man, to anthropomorphize man, to examine our idea of God is a useful utility, even though it's not really realistic. But what that activity allows me to do is ask myself, what are those lurking notions in the back of my consciousness about my God that are not serving me? Because if my God isn't at peace, I don't know how I can be at peace. I got no chance. So the messages that we got in our youth, potentially, and not all of us did. Some of us were raised in New Thought, but many of us weren't. We've immigrated here. There was a wrathful, judgmental, spiteful entity out there that was in charge of everything. And there are still vestiges of that in the nooks and crannies of my consciousness. And so I'm wanting to bring those to light, and we can examine those pieces and ask ourselves, are they really still there in any effect? Shining the light on them helps them dissipate. We do so many things here in New Thought. We have the attributes of God: omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, infinite love, infinite joy, infinite peace. But I don't experience those as much as I would like to. So we have dominion over ourselves, and in this season of preparation, we can set an intention to let go of these old ideas, to let go of these ways of being that aren't working for us today. But an intention is not the same thing as a practice. We can set the intention here, but does it make it to the end of the UCOH driveway? Or even as far as 183. And I can speak to that because I've done it. Oh my gosh, I've left here feeling so spiritual, and you know what? It can fade. Yeah. So that's the second barrier. So I mentioned that I wanted to talk a little bit about the prerequisites, and this is where the good news is. The prerequisites for us being the Christ, being peace in the world, are nothing. We don't even need to understand what the extent of our capacities or powers are. And I know we can know that's true because when we were very little, we hopefully, all of us, experienced peace at least one point before we were conscious of what peace was, before we were conscious of a higher power in any particular construct. We could find times to be at peace. And so we know that that is baked into us in our essence as these spiritual creatures. We know it's not dependent on externals. I have walked through many experiences, and many people that I know here very well have walked through very difficult, profound tribulations, and still found ways to be at peace. And then the final one, the one that's really a biggie, is that nothing needs to be created. That love and compassion and altruism that Thich Nhat Hanh mentioned, he talks about those as qualities. Well, those are qualities that we are imbued with. We don't need to go find them. We don't need to create them. It's a matter of letting go of the things that are inhibiting me from fully expressing them. So the practices. This is where the rubber meets the road. We can talk about it, we can theorize it, we can have lofty intellectual conversations, but what am I doing on a daily basis to practice this? Well, we have the wonderful process of affirmative prayer. If you want an example, Rick, who did a talk on peace this morning, that will be on YouTube at the 8 a.m. service, did a great affirmative prayer around peace. You know, where we're affirming those things that we know to be true. Meditation. Many of us have meditation practices in here, rich meditation practices that have been going on for long periods of time. Others of us are still dabbling in it. If you haven't had the success with meditation that you would like, my encouragement is stay with it. It took me 16 years from when I first started to try to meditate to where I felt like I could do it on a regular basis. Be consistent. Attending services, that's another piece. Affirmations. Affirmations are so powerful. Not too long ago, a friend of mine started sending me a text with just 3 little gratitudes on it, and then did it again another day, and every day after started sending that to me. And so I've started doing that with some other folks too. And it's just a way of affirming positivity and putting it out into the world. These are small practices, but the aggregate of them shifts us over time. One other piece of good news too, a favorite definition of mine of a miracle is a quickening of spiritual advancement. You know, our walk into forgetfulness, if it's 40 miles, doesn't have to be 40 miles back out. We can set that intention, start the practice, and be shifted in relatively short order. Spiritual literature. We get to partake of spiritual literature. If you don't have something going all the time, find a book and have something that inspires you. There's so much in there. We've got this phenomenal New Thought bookstore, the only one in Austin, and it's available. I think being particular about what we take into our consciousness. There is so much information available out there right now, and being discerning about quality information, impartial information, if we're looking at news, information that is not meant to be obscene or inflammatory, but that supports principles that we're trying to live by. And it's a simple thing, and it's easy to get drawn into the social media stuff. I know. I had to give up my Reddit feed because it just wasn't serving me. One of the tools that I've been experimenting with for a couple of years now in the business world is when I go into a meeting that I know there's the potential for contention. You know, we may have various different parties representing different interests on complex business deals that I don't have a vision of how we're going to move through that and reach a compromise or a solution. And when sometimes I do it in advance, and sometimes when it happens in the meeting, I'll stop and I'll literally take a breath, sit back in my chair, and then go around and mentally bless every person in the room. Every time I exercise that activity, there's a shift. There's always a shift in me, and sometimes there's a palpable shift in the room. You know, that moment when you've hit that impasse and nobody knows what to do or say next, except you've got the loggerhead, and then there's that shift in energy, and all of a sudden somebody becomes vulnerable that wouldn't have been otherwise because there was this silent, sacred space held. We can affirm that everything is as it should be. There's only one power and one presence in the universe, the God, the good. The universe is inherently friendly, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. I've walked through many personal experiences. Most of the rich ones were around transitions of family and friends, and been able to be present, be fully in it and at peace. You know, everything that needed to be said was said, and everything that needed to be done was done. Last week, Reverend Sheree talked about hope and expressing with confidence that all will work out to the highest and greatest good. And I've seen that with our congregation. You know, I get to see the congregation from multiple perspectives, as a congregant and then also as the president of the board. And as the president of the board, I get to see how the sausage is made. And it's caused me to fall in love with this community more and more, especially when we've walked through hard times. Because there's always been a large cadre of people here that through the most difficult of times, you know, tumultuous minister transitions, difficult finances, controversies, pandemics, everybody's always risen to the occasion. There's always been those that have been holding this highest and greatest good in consciousness for us. So we have resources for all of this. We have this amazing church community. We have a senior minister. If you haven't made a connection with her, I highly encourage that. We have spiritual counselors here that you can make an appointment with and get spiritual counseling. We have chaplains that we can pray with, that you can sign up to receive a call from with a prayer on a regular basis. We have LUTs. We're going to be rolling out a lot of new classes here in 2022. And so we have people within our congregation that have amazing spiritual education and practices and can help us advance ourselves. And we have a laity that is phenomenal. There are people in this congregation that I so admire and inspire me in the way they walk through life. We have mastermind groups. If you don't know what that is, just you can get online, you can ask about it at the office. We have our spirit circles that we can get together with. We have volunteer groups. So there's so much available. And you don't have to do it all. Don't have to do it all. But in this season of setting this intention, pick one that you maybe haven't done before and engage with that and start that new practice. The last thing that I would recommend is picking a sojourner, a spirit buddy, somebody to walk through this experience with from this community. Doesn't even have to be from this community, but somebody that holds us accountable spiritually with our practices, with our advancement, with our visions, with our hopes and dreams. And they're available. We just need to open our hearts to them. So engaging with these practices will allow us to walk through life better centered. So we respond out of principle and we don't react to things that are difficult. In preparation for this talk, Nina, asked me to go into, what do we do when we're confronted by all the difficulties of the world? And in thinking about that and spending some time with it, there's no single one silver bullet. Easy for me to say. There's no one thing. It is the aggregate of the practices that are available to us that shift us. And so it is many different things in small ways over the course of time that moves us there. This morning I just came across a new principle and I love it. I've been doing this for a while and a new one popped up, and it was this inverse proportionality principle. That my ability to be able to experience and be in the Christ consciousness is inversely proportional to the sincerity, the depth, and the devotion to my practices. Maybe that's a whole nother talk, I don't know. I'm wrapping this up. So there's always new stuff. That's what's so exciting about this. And in this season of anticipation, we have everything available to us to be at peace. It's incumbent upon us to take our own actions, to let go of our old ideas and behaviors. And through our practices, we can become that essence. And I'll close with, this is a minor adaptation of another Thich Nhat Hanh piece. He says, we can realize peace right here in the present moment. with our look, our smile, our words, and our actions. Peace is not a means. Each step we make can be peace. Each step we make can be joy. Each step we make can be peace. Each step we make can be happiness. If we are determined, we can do it. We don't need the future. We can smile and relax. Everything we want is right here, now, in the present moment. Namaste.
Lord, we come together, affirming you provided all we need. Seeking guidance from you, praying for that someone who will lead. One God and one power, we know you will fulfill our every need. Day star, shine down on us, shine down on the one we call to lead. Lead us, Lord, we'll follow. Anywhere you open up the door. Well, let us know your wisdom. Show us things we've never seen. We are praying for our leader. You can help us take the path we know is right. Lead us, guide us, show us. Let your love shine through us in the night.
There's confusion and we want to be that light. Shining like the day star, bringing love and peace back in our sights. Shadow darkness with our hearts of love and peace and light. Peace and light. Parade, Spirit, shine down on us. Let your love shine through us in the night. Anywhere you open up the door. Let us know your wisdom. Show us things we
Spirit, shine down on us. Let your love shine through us in the
We are so blessed. So if we can slow down for just a moment and move into a time of reflection and contemplation. I'll invite you all, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And we'll start with a quick exercise to recognize the body. 2 inhalations and holding it and then letting go slowly. And when we inhale, gently tense every muscle of your body. So inhale. And exhale. And again, inhale. And exhale. So we feel these bodies that we're piloting around on this planet, and we let them sit gently in the seat that supports them. Stepping aside from the physicality, we let our minds go. We release any thoughts of the outside, thoughts of busyness, thoughts of things that need to be done. Right now, absolutely everything is exactly as it needs to be. There is perfect peace available in this very moment. Nothing needs to happen. We are safe. We are loved. We are together. We are seen. We are heard. We are that divine entity. And we can rest in that. So moving gently back out of that space and into our presence, into our physicality. We can do it grateful. We can do it peacefully. And be thankful for this chance to come together, to worship, to be in each other's presence, to experience the joy and love of this community. And we get to take that out into the greater world as we go about the rest of our days. Amen.
Thank you, Frank. That was beautiful. I have asked several members of our community who are leaders to talk about why do we tithe, why do we give to this community? And I've asked James and John to share with us why they give.
Hello, UCOH. This is James and John. We wanted to take a moment to talk about prosperity and abundance and the power of giving.
Money is energy. It's a real thing that opens up a flow when you are giving on faith into the universe, into your spiritual home. The universe gives it back to you. It opens that flow.
That's right. And so when I think about UCOH, which is our spiritual home, this place that we love, that we get so much from, that we take the teachings into our business, into our marriage, and into our communities, where folks say, wow, you're so happy and you're doing so wonderfully. Well, the secret is UCOH. Why am I not investing more in it? And so one day we made the commitment to tithe and then to give a little bit more, and things changed.
So as you're doing your holiday shopping, make sure you sign up for Amazon's Smile program. And you select UCOH, and then every time you make a purchase, that's money you're spending anyways, guess what? UCOH gets a portion of the proceeds. So make sure you sign up for Amazon Smile and have a great holiday season. We love you.
Have a wonderful holiday season. No toe in, no toe out. Let's fully commit to UCOH and remember that you matter, and we are thankful for you.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays. Bye.
I want to be that cute when I grow up. God. It's now time to take that message of giving into the next step. And there are multiple ways that we can give here. You can give by texting on the app. You can give by going online. You can mail in a check. And the text number is 833-717-7700. So as we step into the season of giving, this is your source. And you should always give back to your source, because as you give, you shall be given to. Amen. So let us take that energy as we say our affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I circulate, and I am grateful.
There's a reason that the lights are shining. There's a reason that the wreaths are hung. There's a reason that songs of joy and peace are being sung. Oh yeah. There's a reason for the celebration. There's a reason that the silver bells ring. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ, Christ the King. Yeah. There's a reason that the lights are shining. There's a reason that the wreaths are hung. There's a reason that songs of joy and peace are being sung. There's a reason that the celebration. There's a reason that the silver bells ring. Yeah. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
There's a reason.
there's a reason. Yes, there's a
Yeah,
reason.
there's a reason.
There's a reason. Yes, there's a reason.
Creator came down from glory to set us free. He came to bring us hope eternal, and hope can change everything. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King. Oh, yeah. There's a reason for the tinsel and holly. There's a reason. The decorations on the tree. There's a reason for the time we spend with family. Yeah. It's a glorious heavenly party that goes beyond the reds and the green. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King. Oh, there's a reason. Oh, there's a reason.
There's a reason. Yes, there's a reason.
The Creator came down from glory to set us free. Yeah. He came to bring us hope
Eternal.
and
change everything.
Change everything. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King.
Oh, yeah.
There's a reason.
There's a reason.
Yeah, there's a reason.
There's a reason. Yes, there's a reason.
It's more than the lights, more than the decorations on the tree.
There's a reason. Yes, there's a
It's all about hope.
reason. Yes, there's
We need a little hope.
there's a reason. Yes, there's a reason.
Say Jesus,
He's the reason.
Jesus, I know. There's a reason.
Yes, there's a
Oh,
reason.
there's a reason.
There's a reason. Oh, there's a reason.
The Creator came down from glory to set us free. Yeah, yeah. He came to give us hope,
Eternal.
and hope can change everything. There's a reason for the season.
The reason is
Christ the King. Oh, yeah. There's a reason for the season.
reason.
Christ the King. Oh, yeah. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King. Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Celebration. And we had the guys do their thing, and it's just been, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Thank you, Reggie. That was beautiful. Just love having you. So I get Reggie like now regularly because he's our program director. So we're just having a good time. So we are going to bless these offerings. So, Sweet Spirit, we just know that as these gifts have been given so freely and generously from the hearts of this community, we see it going out and multiplying as we continue to give back to the community, as we give to our movement, the head office, as we give to First Community, as we give to those who are in need. We see these gifts just changing lives. And we see that this gift is returned to the givers tenfold. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. All right, so here we go. When I'm tired, you'll notice the British stuff comes out a little bit. There's two reasons that it comes out. I'm either tired or I'm ticked off, so you never know. Oh, at least I entertain myself, so that's good. Frank, I just want to take a moment to thank you for sharing your gift and talent with us in the talk and in the meditation. And we have prayer chaplains after service. They are going to be in our beautiful chapel. And so if you're feeling like you'd like to get a little boost for the week, please see one of our prayer chaplains over there. We also have the giving tree out there, so please make sure that if you're called to give to either the kids or elder care, whoever we're supporting, that you look at the ticket and be aware of the deadlines and bring them back on time, please, so that we can distribute them. Bookstore, today's the last day. 30% off, sale today. I already bought mine. I went there early. I was like, okay, I'm here, let's do this. And we are so blessed by our anonymous benefactor who is going to match that 30% off for Unity Church of the Hills. What else? The Gratitude Circle. It usually meets out there on the patio. It still looks like the weather's holding. If it doesn't hold, then please meet in room 129. And then what's happening next Sunday, I'll hear again, and we're going to be talking about the Christmas jar. The Christmas jar is a tradition that Graham and I have started about 5 years ago. And it's from a beautiful book that's written by Jason F. Wright. And it talks about what the Christmas jar is and how it came into being. And it's just this beautiful story about giving back to others, to those in need. So we'll be talking about that next Sunday. And you ready to do the prayer protection? You think we'll make it through without any blip blip from your minister? All right, let's give it a go. Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Love you guys. I'll see you next week. Celebration, bands, thank you.
You're not a natural being, having a spiritual experience, but you're a spiritual being, living this natural experience. You're not a natural being, having a spiritual experience, but you're a spiritual being, living this natural experience every day. When you wake, your confess should constantly say, oh Lord, let me be spiritual. Spiritual.